Perfect. Live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube. Good. We're ready to go. It's 8:04. Takes me 4 minutes. Good. Boom, boom, boom. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum. Okay, I'm live on LinkedIn. Okay, I'm live on LinkedIn. Uh-huh. I am live on YouTube and people can hear me. Just gonna check. The audio is working. Got it. So, I guess it's fine, right? People have started joining in. So, if you can hear me properly, say something, folks. Let me know if you're audible. I'm sorry, if I'm audible. You're audible in my hearts. So let me know if I'm audible, and then we'll give you the show that you deserve. Yes, it's that good. You deserve it. Mr. Shamir Kunat Peed Kayal. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name right. I'll try again. Mr. Shamir Kunat Peedi Kayal. Wow, that's a beautiful name. Thank you so much, Mr. Shamir, if I can call you that. LinkedIn is ready as well. Why you says Mr. Vivek call. All right, so I'm audible on LinkedIn and on YouTube, and now we'll have the show that you deserve. You deserve it. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Well, not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! Oh, but before we go, we've got to follow a tradition, right? You know the tradition? The tradition of the simultaneous sip. We all have to sip something together because it's so lucky. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice or stein, a canteen jug or flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. Today I'm having water, hot, with some black pepper in it, and also some tea, lemon tea. So it's supposed to be very good for me. It looks very healing. Let's go. Oh my god. Beautiful. Beautiful. Sublime. Let's do it again. Wonderful. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what the simultaneous sip says, don't you? The simultaneous sip says that you're not alone, that we're in this together. And that's such a beautiful thing to say. With that out of the way, let's go. So, yesterday, viewers of Thinker's Frequency would remember we were talking about how Prada essentially stole the Kolhapuri chappal design and displayed it in a Milan festival. And that sort of caused a social media uproar against the company. That how could you, as a fashion company, talking about uh, virtue, talking about creativity, talking about goodness and fairness, just steal somebody's design and not even give them credit, and forget about money. You don't even acknowledge where it's come from. You just ripped off the Kolhapuri design, which has been part of the Indian, Maharashtrian, and allied culture. So that was bad. Turns out that Prada has is trying to make amends now. It says that we are putting our best foot forward. We are going to collaborate with Kolhapuri artisans as we commercialize this particular design. We'll work with them and we'll also give them credit. So Prada unveiled 7 out of 56 looks that were Kolhapuri. And then, Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce wrote to Prada's chairman, and they urged for acknowledgement and they urged for compensation or collaboration. So you can't ask for compensation, you know, because then it turns out to be a very complicated legal battle, right? How much of compensation can you ask for? So nobody knows that. Nobody can pin a number on that so easily. So what they do is, what the deal was, that collaborate with these guys. Let's say if you come out with this product, just have these people work on that, right? So everybody will benefit. You will have Prada, and then some sort of a local manufacturing unit will be set up where these artisans could be contributing to this cause. So the CSR head. So here's the technical part of the story. So ideally, this particular thing is not a CSR exercise for Prada, right? This this incident where designers essentially copied the Kolhapuri design and displayed it at a fashion festival, and then they got a backlash from social media saying that this design belongs to the local Kolhapuri artisans and you stole it. This is not a CSR matter. This is a proper corporate matter. This is not corporate social responsibility. This is actually the legal business aspect, right? But what Prada did was it basically had its CSR head of the group acknowledge the inspiration, and they are going to be working early stages of development, and then if they commercialize this particular property, intellectual property, they'd collaborate. So they've positioned it as a CSR story, as if they're doing some sort of service or some sort of, uh, let's say, charity for the Kolhapuri artisans. Now, this framing is to be seen at some depth, right? Because CSR is engaged when a company is engaging in philanthropic activities in terms of corporate social responsibility, in terms of contributing back to the community from its hard earned profits. Okay, that is what CSR says. But these people have brought the CSR play when it's an intellectual property theft issue. So, is it good enough? Are Kolhapuri artisans actually looking for charity? Or are they actually looking forward to a business relationship? So, when you steal somebody's IP, let's say I steal somebody's IP, somebody's work, do I then give them donation? Or do I actually admit it as a business partnership? So, this is something, but again, a lot of it is optics, because if they bring the business side of things, it could be bad optics for the company. So I can understand even when it's unfair in my eyes. So moving forward, Torrent and JB Chemical are finalizing the merger. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember we discussed the JB Chemical buyout by Torrent. It's going to be the largest pharma buyout in the country. Torrent is the seventh largest pharma company in the country, and JB Chemicals is was used to be a Modi company, and Modi is not Mr. Narendra Modi. Modi is a business family in India, the Gujar Mal Modi family. Uh, so people interested in that, there's a book called The Legend of Gujar Mal Modi, written by Sonu Bhasin ma'am. She's perhaps India's most prolific business historian. So she has written books about Indian family businesses. So Modi is one of the families of business in India, like Singhanias from JK, Ambani's, Tata's, Birla's, uh, Dalmias, and so on and so forth, right? Dhingras. So she's written a lot of books. One of them is Inheritors, and one of them is Gujar Mal Modi. It's right there. So Gujar Mal Modi was the patriarch, Mr. Gujar Mal Modi, behind Modi family. Now Modi family, now you might not know, but they created the town of Modi Nagar, Moradabad, and they essentially Lalit Modi, the IPL chief, the founder of IPL, he is the direct descendant of the Modi family. So if you remember, if you know about Godfrey Phillips, it's a cigarette brand. They are a Modi product. So that's what Modi family looks like. Chemicals was primarily owned by Modi family, but then it was bought out by KKR. KKR is the private equity firm, US. Interesting story about KKR, if you want to know about it. There's a movie called Barbarians at the Gate. There was a book written about Barbarians at the Gate, where it was talking about RJR Nabisco's takeover. So these were two cigarette companies, and KKR was leading the buyout. So it was Barbarians at the Gate. Great movie, and one of the best legendary business movies. And KKR is now owner of JB Chemicals. So JB Chemicals controlling shareholder KKR has 47.84% in Mumbai based JB Chemicals, while the rest is with the public. So JB Chemicals, we discussed, viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember how JB Chemicals is slightly shady because they have a drug called Rantac, and Rantac, the salt behind Rantac is called ranitidine, and ranitidine in the US markets and European markets has been banned for having links with cancer. However, in Indian market, they are still studying. So they say, let's study ranitidine more. Even though it's been established in the West and in the US markets that this drug is problematic and is carcinogenic, somehow Indian uh, drug regulators have not really followed suit. So that problem essentially, Rantac 150, correct, Mr. Shamir? So KKR is looking at selling the company, which JB Chemicals, and now we might just be. So is it because uh, is it a private equity transaction where they see some problems with JB Chemicals and that's why they're looking at offloading it? Or is it just a synergistic transaction? Because with JB Chemicals, which is a $3 billion company, 3.4, 3.5, market cap of Torrent and JB would be 16 billion. So KKR would be offloading this, and I expect right after KKR goes out, this drug Rantac would be off the shelves. That's the power of private equity. Well, that's only speculation, but I see that happening sometime soon. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with KKR's exit, but it could happen. KKR is in another news today. It's regarding the waste management waste disposal happening in Bhopal. So apparently Bhopal is burning again, and it's because of the Union Carbide waste disposal happening in Tarapur, which is a very small town with 4,500 people. Now, this particular town is essentially facing a lot of problems because waste is being burned by RE Sustainability's Treatment Storage Dispose Facility, TDSF, right? So, again, RE Sustainability is 80% owned by KKR and 20% owned by Ala Ayodhya Rami Reddy, a Rajya Sabha member for Congress, YSR Congress. And this particular company is essentially killing people, is what people are claiming. Because they say that the way this waste is being disposed in Tarapur, people are having itching problems and people are slowly getting poisoned and people are facing some sort of breathing issues and they're stacking cough and it's horrible. You know, this town is near Bhopal and people are saying that this is it's ironical because Bhopal had the worst industrial waste tragedies ever, the Bhopal gas tragedy, and now we are having this of the same thing. We are not being able to dispose it of properly. There are leakages, there's mercury, there's so much of problems, and we are seeing this happen by RE Sustainability. So KKR, JB Chemicals, Rantac causing cancer, KKR, RE Sustainability doing all of these things. Bad news, bad day for PR of KKR, right? As far as this is considered. People interested in the Bhopal gas tragedy, if they've not already, can watch something called Railwaymen. It's one of the greatest series that have been made in India. Very nice. KK Menon and Mr. Irfan Khan's son, I am not sure of his name, and other people as well. Very, very good story. Beautifully made. Everything top notch. Production value, art value, everything extraordinary. And they put out how the Union Carbide issue was handled, right? And now Bhopal is going through this, which is a serious problem. Interestingly, the government was also anti this particular disposal. However, they took a U-turn and now they thought it's going to be disposed safely, but people are not feeling safe at all. And doctors are claiming that it's slow poisoning, it's going to screw everything up. So now this is a Kobayashi Maru kind of a situation. So people who, if you've been aware of something called Star Trek, so there's a very popular pop culture reference. It's called Kobayashi Maru. So Kobayashi Maru says it's a simulation in Star Trek where it's a no-win solution. It's a no-win solution. So it's basically every move you make, you're gonna lose. So what happened with Kobayashi Maru in this case was that these people, wanted to dispose this waste, okay? Because Union Carbide, you know about the Bhopal gas tragedy, right? And everything. So that waste had to be collected and disposed of. But where do you dispose that waste? What technology do you use to dispose that waste, right? So what these people tried doing was they tried sending it to Gujarat and allied states where they could dispose it in different ways. They all said no. They didn't want any part of it, right? So now you cannot, ideally should not be sending it to elsewhere, other places, but you have to because you can't burn it here. If it burns it here, it's another problem. So you try to send it to other people. That's also a no-win solution because somebody else suffers. You can't burn it here. That's also a no-win solution. So, or you could try to learn how to burn it, but that's no solution. You don't know it. So that's called Kobayashi Maru. So, Starfleet Academy training exercise, Star Trek, where testing, there was a no-win scenario for Starfleet cadets, and in a dangerous neutral zone between Federation and Klingon Empire, cadets must decide whether to attempt a rescue, risking their own ship, or leave Kobayashi Maru to its own fate. So what the challenge is that there's somebody stuck in that particular part in the conflict zone. Okay? Now the cadets are supposed to decide whether they have to go and rescue that guy. So if they go and rescue that guy, uh, they're risking conflict. It could be a fight, it could be a big fight, right? And if a big fight happens, a huge consequences could happen. But if they don't rescue him, he's just gonna die. So that's Kobayashi Maru. And in that Kobayashi Maru sequence, what happens in Star Trek is that Captain Kirk, the character, he changes the rules of the simulation and solves the problem. Okay, so but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this particular situation has a Captain Kirk angle to it. People are just feeling very, very uncomfortable in Tarapur. So, Iran and Israel war was kind of a Kobayashi Maru situation, and Mr. Trump could actually pull off a Captain Kirk, bombed it, conflict ended, everything went back to normal. So, very interesting phenomena. Moving on, uh, RIL and future retail case, Amazon wins in Singapore. So, Amazon has won the essentially arbitration case against Reliance, against future retail. So, people who don't know about the future retail and Amazon case, it's perhaps one of the most tragic but interesting legal battles in the history of Indian corporate sector. So I'll tell you what happened. Future Retail was the Kishore Biani group. Okay, it had retail companies and so on and so forth. Now Amazon uh, tied up, or let's say invested or partnered with Future Retail to form a company called Future Coupons Limited. Okay. Now Future Retail was in a big trouble because Future Retail was very much in heavy debt and it couldn't have paid off its debt. That part was pretty clear. So Future Retail was buried under debt, and at one moment, people were saying that Mr. Kishore Biani will be the Sam Walton of India because retail chains, Future Retail doing so well, and so on. But all that was debt, and suddenly that debt started weighing Future Retail down, and it was in trouble. So what Future Retail did was it basically got uh, in a joint venture with Amazon for a small company called Future Coupons Limited. So Amazon took a 49% partnership, if I'm not wrong, in Future Coupons Limited. Now Future Coupons Limited is a very small company. It was supposed to be a very small uh, subsidiary of Future Retail. Okay. So then what happened was, I'll tell you, yeah, in 2019, Amazon acquired 49% stake in Future Retail, Future Coupons for 1400 crores. So that's like a nothing burger because Future Retail's debt was in billions. Like, so what happened was, as this small transaction happened, Future Retail, buried in debt, wanted to sell itself to Reliance. After e-commerce screwed the business, everything went south. So Future Retail had no options but to sell itself to Reliance. Okay. Now Reliance agreed to buy Future Retail for 24,000 crores. Okay. So Reliance wants to buy Future Retail for 24,000 crores. However, in this Future Coupons Limited, Amazon had a 49% stake. And the idiot lawyer who wrote that terms of engagement letter essentially had a clause that entire investment had a clause that Amazon would have a say in acquisitions and investments in Future Coupons and related entities. And Future Coupons had a 10% stake in Future Retail. Okay, so yeah, so Future Coupons had a 10% stake in Future Retail. That means Future Coupons and Future Retail were related entities. If they were related entities, Amazon said that you cannot sell future retail to Reliance because we say no. Okay. Now, even though Future Coupons Limited was a very small company, like a 2,800 crore company, because of that particular clause in that agreement, when Future Retail was agreed to sell itself to Reliance, Amazon came in the way and they said, we are going to court and you cannot sell Future Retail to Amazon. Then a lot of things happened, uh, it went to courts, court went to arbitration went to like Singapore arbitration case, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, Singapore arbitration court has ruled in favor of Amazon. But this doesn't matter because right when this was happening, banks were supposed to get paid by Reliance, right? So the insolvency bankruptcy uh, proceedings were on. And because of this case, this takeover between Reliance and Future Retail couldn't happen. So Future Retail's $24,000 crore rupee value just vanished in the wind for nothing. Your insights are awesome, says Mr. Shamir. Thank you so much, Mr. Shamir. That's very nice of you. So hear this out. 24,000 crores of value of Future Retail just wiped off for nothing. For what? Because Future Coupons Limited had an investment from Amazon, and that particular entity said related parties, and had a 10% shake in Future Retail. So Future Retail just went to zero. Everything just went to zero. Reliance actually took over those stores without paying for it. So Future Retail just transferred the lease in Reliance name or something. So that's the story of Future Retail and Amazon, the court case. Can you imagine? I mean, is your mind blown or what? So now, Singapore International Arbitration Center has held that Reliance Retail Future Group merger is in breach of the pre-existing contract that Future Coupons had with Commerce. So it has awarded a 23 crore rupee settlement to Amazon. Amazon had asked for 1,436 crores. These people said just take 23 crores and be done with it, and then you'll also be reimbursed for your legal costs. So that is the story. My God, when I read this, for the first time in 2020, I had been following this case. So no, Mr. Tiwari. So Mr. Tushar Tiwari asks, what is Amazon doing with those stores? Amazon doesn't have those stores. That's the story, right? So Amazon had Future Coupons Limited, a small company. It's not the Future Retail Limited. Future Coupons Limited, 2,800 crore company where it had a 49% stake. Now Future Coupons had a 10% stake in Future Retail, the company which had all the stores. Now Amazon in this agreement had somehow pulled in the clause where they said they will have a veto on investments and mergers and acquisitions of Future Coupons and related parties. Now the idiot lawyers of Future Retail must have missed this part before agreeing to it, right? So they went ahead. And then what happened is Future Retail couldn't sell to Reliance. Mr. Shamir asks, so Reliance didn't pay for Future Retail? No, Reliance didn't. They just had to take over the stores. They didn't pay the 24,000 crores they wanted to pay. And they were supposed to pay so that the banks could have made all the money back. They could have earned something. But nothing happened because Amazon's lawyer screwed the Future Retail guys. And Future Retail lawyers were dumb, essentially. So you've got to think about the lawyer who essentially drafted that agreement. Just think about the ramifications of that particular clause. So just because of that clause, Future Retail couldn't even get the money back. It couldn't even sell itself. It just died. It just went to zero. Zero. That's how small things lead to big outcomes. Big outcomes. Just think about that dumb lawyer who wrote that, right? He couldn't even imagine. I'm sure he wouldn't have even imagined that someday uh, this would happen because of this particular mistake that not just he but everybody did. So future retail should uh, specially talk to their lawyers who drafted that agreement, right? So that was the story. That yeah. So in 2019, Amazon acquired 49%. FCL had a 10% stake. In August 2020, Future entered into an agreement to sell its retail and wholesale and logistics assets to Reliance for 24,713 crore, and that couldn't happen. So, Mr. Shamir says ultimate failure of Kishore Biani feels sad for him. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Mr. Kishore Biani, like he was right about e-commerce. So whenever he talked about e-commerce, if you read the Economic Times dating 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, okay, he always said that e-commerce will never make money in India. It won't make money in India. It's a money burning uh, it's a money burning exercise. That's what he maintained all this while. Whenever he said, that's what he said, that it's not gonna make money in India. And turns out he was not wrong. He was not wrong, right? Because it's 2025. Flipkart started in 2007, so it's been 2007, right? So 15 and 18 years. So it's been 18 years that Flipkart has been around and is still losing like $1 billion every year, 8,000 crores, right? So he was right about Flipkart and Amazon not being, and Amazon also loses $1 billion every year. So both of these companies collectively lose like $2 billion every year. $2 billion is like 16,000 crores. However, what Mr. Kishore Biani didn't see was that these people will come with infinite money. So they wouldn't care about losing money because it'll become a part of a global major battle where losing money wouldn't be a problem. And he couldn't transform Future Retail into an e-commerce company, right? So interestingly, Mr. Kashyap Devra, the founder of Right Half, and he started something called Chalo, and he so who's profitable in e-commerce business in India? We'll come to that, Mr. Shamir. So I was saying that Mr. Kashyap Devra was the founder of Chalo, Right Half, and now is building Hypertrack in US. A very nice person. His company Chalo got Chowpatty Bazaar. Sorry, not Chalo, Chowpatty Bazaar. He also founded Chalo, which got acquired by OpenTable. But he founded something called Chowpatty Bazaar, which got acquired by Future Retail. And then he became the president of Future Retail's e-commerce business. Right? Not for long. He wrote a book called The Golden Tap. One of the best books written in India about the business ecosystem. Absolutely extraordinary book. And I had a podcast episode with him, by the way. So you can go to my YouTube and you'll see a conversation about with the writer of Golden Tap. He said how difficult it became for Future Group because Future Group couldn't even reorient itself, right? It couldn't even like raise new money because money was falling in from all over the place, right? It was Tiger Global, and then it was even SoftBank for a while with Snapdeal, and then Amazon, of course, was throwing money. So a lot of companies started playing up. There was Flipkart, there was Snapdeal, there was ShopClues, and so on and so forth, right? At one point there was LimeRoad, and there was a lot of companies. I don't even remember a lot of names now. But the point is that he was right about Indian e-commerce. Nobody makes money. It's a fire pit. But what he didn't see was that it wouldn't matter if nobody made money in e-commerce. The battle was very different and it was just another battle going on. He just didn't see that. So now coming to the question, so who is profitable in e-commerce business in India, says Mr. Shamir, and Mr. Tushar Tiwari says, I guess only Nykaa. To which Mr. Shamir says Big Basket. So Big Basket is not profitable, unfortunately, Mr. Shamir. And Mr. Tushar Tiwari is right. Nykaa is profitable, barely, but yeah, Nykaa makes some money, 1% kind of a net margin. However, Nykaa is an inventory-led brand plus e-commerce, right? So it's not a horizontal e-commerce platform. So that would be slightly off to say. However, a company which is making money, has begun making money in e-commerce, is somebody called Misho, and they are having their IPO now. So very interestingly, what you're gonna see, 1mg, no, Mr. Shamir, 1mg, Big Basket, they've all been acquired by Tata MG, sorry, Tata Digital. They don't make money. However, Misho has been able to prove itself as some player which can make money. And Misho is at the moment going for an IPO. They were last valued at 4 billion approximately, I guess. Yeah, so Misho was looking at a 3.9 valuation, $3.9 billion valuation earlier. And then they got marked down. And now they are looking at a valuation of 7 to 10 billion. So yeah, so they were essentially, peak value of Misho was $5 billion. Then it came down to $3.9 billion. And now they are looking at IPO where they might just be looking at 7 to 10 billion dollars. Now a good question to ask is Misho worth 7 to 10 billion dollars? Should we do an analysis like we did with Lenskart as far as Misho is considered? Now that will be very hard, because Misho doesn't have comparables. Because in India, Misho can be compared with, let's say, Flipkart, right? Now Flipkart has a revenue of 56,000 crores. 56,000 crores. But it doesn't make money. Right? It loses $1 billion every year. But it is essentially looking at a valuation of $35 billion. So if at a revenue of $8 to $9 billion, it's getting valued at $35 billion, that means its revenue multiple is 4 to 5, which is a fair revenue multiple. But if Misho goes public at a 7 to 10 billion dollar valuation, what is Misho's revenue right now? It's less than $1 billion. That means it's gonna be looking at 7 to 10x of revenue multiple. That means it's not fair, because if Flipkart is getting valued at 4:5 and Amazon globally retail is getting valued at 2 or 3 or 4 as far as revenue multiple is considered, just the retail unit I'm talking about. So how can Misho get 7 to 10 billion dollars? I'm sorry, 7 to 10 x revenue multiple. However, what's to be taken into account is that Misho makes money, and Misho has been able to grow. So Misho is the only player which might just be moving towards net profitability. Fair and square. Though I'm not sure if those numbers are reliable. I don't know anybody at Misho, so I'm not sure. However, 7 to 10 billion dollars could be a stretch. Right? But they're gonna go IPO anytime soon. So, moving forward, students go Jekyll and hide online to pass visa check. Ever since Trump administration has come to US, Indian students looking forward to going to US, they are talking about hiding their identity, because these people were very interested in some sort of activism as far as US is considered. So they wrote a lot of pro-Palestine posts, and then they used to go and give speeches. They use just recently, a few days ago, there was a viral speech at MIT, was it, where a girl who was at a commencement speech, like graduation ceremony, she started talking about Israel and Palestine, and that caused a lot of embarrassment. So uh, Trump administration has clearly said that this is not done. So what they've done is they started auditing people's social media so that they can just remove these problematic elements in their eyes. Harvard, was it Harvard? No, it was MIT, I guess. Anyway, so now these people are doing what they're deleting their profiles, social media, even the anonymous ones. They're taking giving undertakings and so on and so forth, just so they can go to US and study, and then probably engage in activism of whatever means to them, right? So driving change, e-commerce firms amp up for sustainable future. So they are basically looking at, the news item says that e-commerce companies are looking at lower emission electric vehicles for cost reduction and also going green. So you've got to give credit to Zomato, because they positioned their marketing pitch, at least very early on, where they talked about how they want to be green. They want to have a green delivery, right? So that sort of worked in their favor. And now all companies are essentially uh, going ahead with that. So moving on. TPG owned Altimetric to buy SLK software. So viewers of Thinkers Frequency would know we've been talking about how AI companies and AI led companies are looking at acquiring traditional IT services companies for quickened adoption. So viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember we talked about Masayoshi Son actually looking at acquiring Indian IT companies with a $3 billion budget. So he was looking at acquiring multiple IT companies to spearhead AI adoption into that play. Not IT companies, but BPOs and KPOs and so on and so forth. But yes, something like that, where it leads to quickened adoption of AI. So this step is in that direction. Apparently, he's not alone. Altimetric is a full-on AI, software play, and they are basically looking at acquiring SLK software for $600 million. So, just reading it out, Altimetric, Altimetric, a pure play AI data and digital engineering solutions company. So, Masayoshi Son, once again, seeing the trends first on in a very, very nice way. Moving on. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Boom, 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 boom. There's a flip as far as the healthy food habit is considered. It says the food choices of Indian households are changing. There's a lot of buzz as far as protein, Greek yogurt, kale, millets, and all are considered. There's a report by Fireside Ventures, where they interviewed 1,000 households, 1,000 shoppers, and they published like 63% of them are looking at these options. However, the truth about the story is that India, by and large, doesn't care about these things, and it's a very small market. Yes, it's growing 30%. Products like premium coffee, healthy snacks. So, firstly, grouping premium coffee with healthy snacks is not fair. So, if you're writing an article about the growth of healthy habits and healthy eating, and then in that particular market you club premium coffee, which is a leisurely drink and has nothing to do with health, uh, arguably, that sort of colors the report. But this kind of messaging you will see happening because a lot of money is going into these things now. So a lot of people are assuming, a lot of VC money, that Indians will actually look at healthy food as far as snacking is considered. So healthy packaged food might just be looking at a base increase. Very small right now, but might just be looking big. I have founded a company in healthy food. We ran a social networking platform. I'm new to your sessions. You are covering exhaustively But may I know your reference source for these details? Says Miss Akshaya. Uh, so I read a lot. I refer to a lot of books which I mentioned, and then for the daily news, I have Economic Times and a few other sources like Mint, and Tracker, and so on and so forth. So my source, essentially, the primary source, you can call it Economic Times. Then there's other people and Tracker and Mint, as I said, and the base reference from whatever I'm talking is the books that I've read over the years. Hope it answers your question, Miss. So moving on, what I was saying was that I have built a company around health. So Spot Health was a social network focused on health. We built the largest cycling community in Delhi. A lot of running communities we ran, and so on and so forth. We also had cloud kitchens focused on healthy food, and we started our app had like a sports dating feature like Bumble, but for sports enthusiasts, so you could meet people for sports dates. We saw was that market for these things, the healthy food aspect of things, is very small, is very small. So why it might be growing 30%, but the base is so small that it doesn't matter. So it's going to be very hard for people to actually have a large organization. But yeah, healthy food, fresh food is a different battle, what we did, and healthy packaged food is a different battle. So let's say if you make a chocolate or make a protein bar, the distribution is not limited by location, right? So if you have a cloud kitchen, you can only serve like 4 kilometer radius. But if you have a packaged food item, it can be shipped across the country. So the prospects become better. However, still what we believe is, thank you, says Miss Akshay. No problem, Miss. Still, what we believe is that this particular market is a tough grind, right? So moving on, or maybe we were just early. Spot Health. We started in 2019, and then in 2020, COVID hit. So it was just bad time. But our reading of the situation is that's extremely tough and small, and a lot of what appears as the prospect, as the opportunity, is just a mirage. So people say that they want to eat healthy, but they don't. This is why, if you remember, the company which Mr. Ankit Nagori started. So CultFit was the company. CultFit had a cloud kitchen business called EatFit, and then EatFit, the founder of EatFit, Ankit Nagori, he separated with CultFit, and he started that. EatFit became Cure Foods, and it was supposed to be a healthy food business, but then the healthy food business didn't run at all for Mr. Nagori, at all, at all. So then it became Thrasio for food, right? Thrasio for cloud kitchens. So change in business model. Why? And then I also interviewed somebody called Mr. Vatheeswaran K, who's the father of Indian e-commerce. He was the founder of India Plaza, the first e-commerce company in India. He started a company called Again Drinks, which was a health drink, so to speak. And in my podcast episode with him, he wrote a fabulous book called Failing to Succeed, one of the best books in India. When I talked to him about Again Drinks. He said, please don't call it a health drink, because as soon as you call it a health drink, people won't drink it, and the number of people would reduce. The number of people interested in that drink would come down drastically, and that's gonna screw me up. So I can relate to that feeling. Just as an experiment, when we got away with the health food business, orders started picking up because people are actually afraid of health food in India. So if you're gonna sell 10 units of normal food and then you say it's healthy, so you're gonna sell 3 units. That's what we learned in the market. Uh, so that's that. Moving on, something called concierge service for crazy rich Indians. Well, not surprised. Maybe because we are all very rich, right? Anyway, so draft US bill, the big beautiful bill of Mr. Trump, the big beautiful bill, which was the bone of contention between Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk. So if you remember, Donald Trump, Mr. Trump, and Mr. Elon Musk got into a big fight because Mr. Musk said that the bill, this big beautiful bill, is a big heap of shit and it's gonna ruin America. Why did he say so? He said because this bill will add $3.6 trillion to the $36 trillion debt that we already have. So it's gonna pile up the debt burden, and soon enough, the interest on the US debt payment would become so big that the entire US economy could come in a position where it would not be able to pay the interest back. And if and when US defaults on its debt by not being able to pay the interest, forget about the principal. If it fails to roll over the debt, like future retail couldn't, let's say, roll over its debt, it'll die. It'll die. So Mr. Musk didn't want the big beautiful bill to pass, but Trump said that it's gonna fix a lot of things. He had his own agendas and his own perspectives, and that particular thing really uh, drove them apart, right? However, it's the draft bill has been floated. Now it's gonna go to the House, the U.S. House. Then from House, it's gonna go to the Senate, where it's gonna get debated. Then parliamentarians are gonna comment on it, and then maybe the US draft bill comes to light, the big beautiful bill. However, for now, they have laid a 1% remittance tax. So as you know, India gets a lot of remittance money, right? India gets a lot of money by people in a living abroad sending money to Indians. That's called remittance, inward remittance, where Indians, let's say, who go to US send money to their family in India, remittance money. So India gets like over $100 billion a year now in remittance. Okay, $100 billion. About 20 to 30 billion of that comes from US. So significant amount of money coming from Indians living in US to India. Now, what Team Trump wanted to do was they wanted to tax this particular remittance. Is this daily session? And if so, provide the timings. This happens every day at 8 a.m., Miss Akshaya. Thinker's Frequency with Nishant Mittal. Happens every day. So, where was I? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so Team Trump wanted to tax this remittance. So they said, we'll tax 5% of it. So straight, $20 billion, 5% taxed, you get like $1 billion, right? So that has come down to 1%. So from 5% they thought about it, they said 3.5%. From 3.5% they thought about it. Now it's come down to 1%, which is good news for Indians sending money to India, right? Because that's the only benefit the country gets from people living abroad. So we lose rich people, we lose the educated rich people to abroad, and in case of some countries they send money back. So Indians who go to Canada don't send money back, right? But Indians who go to US or UAE or the Gulf, they send a lot of money back. So this is good news. Speaking of, I don't know if I should call it good news, but it's, I don't know. My heart says I'm conflicted. But suicide car bombing has killed 14 Pakistani soldiers. So Pakistan, a true shithole, is a snake that eats itself, and the terrorist attacks which it lays onto Indian soil also hurt itself. So one of them has killed like 14 soldiers, and Taliban has taken responsibility for this particular attack. One second, I'll just confirm that. So, intelligence official said North Wazirabad, Northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistani Taliban faction has taken responsibility for these attacks. So, no surprise there, but sad, I guess, for people, right? Or soldiers. But they're an enemy country, so uh, won't waste my empathy there. Anyway, speaking of empathy, a lot of 1 million plus people have come on the streets mourning for the loss of Iranian top brass, the scientists and the generals. So, top 20 Iranian generals were killed by Israeli attacks. So, that has seen like uh, 1 million people mourning on the streets, and it even the scientists. But we haven't heard from the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, about it. So no word from Khamenei, as they say. Some people are saying that he has already been replaced because he's 86 years old and he's in a bunker. So it's possible that he's hiding and is now being controlled by his captors, because the military faction, having lost 20 generals, they, in the interest of self-preservation, they asked him to stop, and they brokered the peace agreement, saving themselves in the process. And now they've had a regime change has already happened in Iran. That's what a lot of intelligence experts are pointing out, that it's possible that Khamenei has already been replaced without an uprising. So earlier, what people thought was that they'll have to have a civil revolution. They'll have to fund somebody like they did in Bangladesh, right, to replace Sheikh Hasina, Madam Sheikh Hasina. What they did was they funded these student protests, and those protests became violent, and then they essentially toppled the Sheikh Hasina government, right? So earlier, that was the thought, that that's something like that is going to happen in Iran, but apparently they didn't need to do that. They just used the defected in army guys to take over the country. But that's just an allegation, so you can't trust it. But it's a valid allegation, right? Uh, Mr. Archit says, good morning, Archit. Have a beautiful day. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the 35th episode of Thinker's Frequency. I had a lot of fun talking to new folks, especially Mr. Shamir and Miss Akshaya. So you've been new to comment on the conversation. It was really lovely talking to you all. Mr. Tushar Tiwari, you're a regular, so cheers to you. Mr. Archit as well. Everybody, we had a great time. Mr. Vivek Kaul, thank you. I had a lovely time. I hope you loved the episode, the daily mental workout, the daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis. I hope you had fun. Now, I wish that you have a beautiful day personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time. Hopefully. Bye-bye.